Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, English Listening Practice podcast topic name is C1 Level Advanced Grammar, part #1. And here on the deep dive, our mission, it's really to cut through all the noise and get straight to the heart of what truly matters in the linguistic material you've shared with us. Today, we're taking a deep dive into advanced grammar for C1 level English learners, something I know many of you are intensely curious about. Whether you're prepping for an exam, maybe refining your academic writing, or, simply looking to elevate your everyday communication with a bit more precision and, elegance. Our specific mission for you today is all about providing a clear, direct path to mastering these, let's say, nuanced grammatical structures. We really want you to feel incredibly confident and well-equipped, not overwhelmed by what might seem like a maze of complex rules. It's about transforming these sometimes dense grammatical concepts into clear, applicable insights that you can integrate into your English right away, giving you a real shortcut to sounding more native and articulate.
Indeed. And what's truly insightful here, I think, is that at the C1 level, grammar isn't just about knowing the rules anymore. It's really about deploying them, using them with genuine finesse. It's the difference between, say, just understanding the mechanism and skillfully wielding it to make your language sophisticated, remarkably natural sounding, and, virtually error-free. This isn't just a small step up. It's a significant leap from intermediate proficiency, where the focus is often just on getting the basic meaning across. Yeah, you can think of these advanced structures as your secret weapon, particularly for exam success. In the use of English, writing, and speaking papers, your ability to seamlessly weave in complex ideas, to express intricate thoughts with real depth, and crucially, to sidestep those common grammatical pitfalls, that's what genuinely sets you apart. It's not just demonstrating knowledge, it's showcasing a profound command of the language, a true mastery that goes way beyond just a superficial understanding. So we've structured our discussion today as kind of an invigorating grammar workout. We're not just going to present information. We're going to actively build your linguistic strength and precision. This means providing not just clear explanations, but also practical applications and insights into common errors for each point we cover. We've identified 7 crucial areas to explore today, topics that frequently challenge even strong C1 learners, yet at the same time offer the most significant opportunities for improvement. What's truly remarkable, I find, is how mastering these seemingly small adjustments can dramatically impact the clarity, the impact, and the overall polish of your message. It's about learning to sculpt your words with purpose,
All right, that sounds great. Let's kick off this grammar workout then. Let's delve into something that I think many of us think we know, but which holds incredible depth at the C1 level. Advanced passives. When we first learn the passive voice, it's usually introduced pretty simply. Subject plus be plus past participle seems straightforward enough for basic stuff. But at the C1 level, it kind of evolves into an entirely different linguistic tool, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's no longer just about spotting it, is it? It's about actively and strategically deploying its more nuanced forms to achieve very specific communicative goals. How does that shift really serve us?
That's a brilliant way to frame it, actually. The real power of advanced passives lies in their ability to, manipulate focus. They allow you to shift the reader's or listener's attention entirely to the action or the result, rather than, the agent who performed it. And this is invaluable, particularly in things like formal writing, academic reports, scientific papers, or any time you want to convey an objective or impersonal stance. For instance, think about passives used with modal verbs. The structure is quite neat. Modal verb, can, could, may, might, should, plus be plus past participle. So instead of saying, experts can fix this issue, which puts the focus squarely on the experts,
right,
you might choose, this issue can be fixed by experts. See? The focus instantly shifts to the possibility and the nature of the solution. It makes the statement feel more universally applicable, less about specific individuals.
Okay, I see. So it takes the person out of the immediate focus.
Exactly. Then we encounter passives in reported speech, which adds an interesting layer because the tenses often undergo transformations. If the original direct speech is, they say the project is complete, a simple reported version might be, they say it's complete. Fine. But using the advanced passive form, you get something like, the project is said to be complete. It just sounds more formal, doesn't it? More authoritative, almost journalistic.
Mm-hmm. Definitely more detached.
Right. Another great example is transforming, people think the economy is improving, into the economy is thought to be improving.
Mm-hmm.
This structure lets you report a general belief without pinning it on a specific group, maintaining that sense of detachment.
And what about these causative passives? I hear those used quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. They're incredibly useful. Causative passives are what you use when you want to express that you arrange for a service to be performed by someone else. So instead of the simple active, the mechanic repaired my car, or even the simple passive, my car was repaired by the mechanic, you'd use a causative passive like I had my hair cut or I got my computer repaired.
Ah, okay. So it implies you organized it, but didn't do it yourself.
Precisely. The implication is clear. You initiated the action, but someone else executed it. And this construction is incredibly common in everyday English, so using it well really showcases a higher level of fluency. And finally, we should touch on passives with infinitives or gerunds. These introduce a remarkable level of precision, especially when you're discussing beliefs, assumptions, or events way back in the past. Take the sentence, "The book is believed to have been written in the 19th century."
Okay, that sounds quite sophisticated.
It is. This construction lets you express a widely held belief or assumption about a past event without explicitly stating who holds that belief. It contrasts nicely with something like, "People believe the book was written," offering a more concise and, again, more formal expression. This kind of structure is fantastic for academic essays, where you're often discussing established knowledge or scholarly consensus without needing to constantly say, "experts believe" or "scholars think."
Those examples really do highlight the versatility, don't they? So, okay, pulling all this together. What does this advanced understanding of passives genuinely mean for you, the C1 learner aiming for mastery? Well, for one, these structures are just superb for achieving objectivity in your academic essays or formal reports. Instead of writing, "I think that technology will solve this issue," which can sound a bit too personal, maybe subjective.
Yeah, a bit weak sometimes in formal context.
Exactly. You can elevate it to, "It is thought that technology will solve this issue," or maybe "this issue is believed to be resolvable through technology." That subtle shift distances you from the claim, making your writing sound far more authoritative, impartial, and frankly credible, which is a huge plus in academic settings. We also see those impersonal passives you mentioned quite often in formal contexts, official notices, transforming direct instructions like, "You are required to submit the form," into the more formal and general, "It is required that the form be submitted."
Adds that air of universal obligation.
Right, rather than just a direct command to you. Now, here's where it gets particularly interesting, and maybe where some C1 learners can stumble a bit. While advanced passives are incredibly powerful tools, you must absolutely avoid overusing them.
Oh, definitely. That's a key point.
There's this common pitfall, this belief that more passive equals more formal, but that isn't always true, is it?
Not at all. An entire essay written mostly in the passive can feel really stiff, overly impersonal, sometimes convoluted, and just, well, a bit dull to read.
So the real mastery lies in achieving a delicate balance, knowing precisely when to deploy these advanced forms for maximum impact and when to stick with the active voice for directness, clarity, and, dynamism.
Exactly. It's about choice and purpose.
And for oral exams, practice articulating these complex passive forms smoothly. Try to avoid hesitation. Aim for a natural, flowing delivery that showcases your command without sounding strained or unnatural. And in those tricky use of English sections, keep a keen eye out for specific gaps or sentence transformations where an advanced passive structure would fit perfectly. These are often, litmus tests for your C1 grammar proficiency. So let's try a quick mental exercise for everyone listening. If I give you the sentence, "They believe the painting was stolen last night." How would you rephrase that using an advanced passive construction? Aim to emphasize the belief rather than the they. Take a moment. Okay, got it. The painting is believed to have been stolen last night. See how that not only shifts the focus, but also sounds more formal and concise. It's a subtle change, but a significant upgrade. So that's a powerful tool for objectivity and strategic emphasis. But, sometimes the challenge isn't about who did something, or even if it's ongoing, sometimes it's about understanding the hidden layers of when and how actions and states are portrayed. Let's pivot now. Let's talk about the advanced present simple and continuous tenses we all learned way back for basic habits and ongoing actions. They seem straightforward, right?
On the surface, yes.
But at the C1 level, there are these nuanced applications, these hidden layers of meaning that can genuinely enhance your precision and expressiveness. They add a subtle richness to your communication.
Absolutely. The subtleties here are quite fascinating. For instance, the present simple isn't just for daily routines or universal facts. It actually has a remarkably unexpected and dynamic role in narratives. Think about its use in summaries of stories or dramatic recounts or even sports commentary. A commentator might yell, "He passes the ball, dribbles past 2 defenders, and scores. What a goal!"
Yeah, it makes it feel like it's happening right now.
Exactly. That use creates an incredible sense of immediacy and vividness. It pulls the listener directly into the unfolding action, making it feel current and gripping, even if the event technically just happened. It's a way of making the past feel present.
That's a cool technique. What about the continuous for the future?
Ah, yes. The present continuous for future arrangements. While we learn simple future forms like will or going to at C1, it's about discerning the crucial nuance between a fixed, prearranged plan and just a mere intention. If you say, "We're meeting the team tomorrow," it strongly implies a confirmed arrangement. Maybe it's in the calendar, tickets are booked, a formal appointment is set.
Right, it sounds definite.
He has a much stronger sense of certainty than, say, "I'm going to meet them soon," which, while still future-oriented, indicates an intention that might be less definite, more personal, or perhaps still subject to change. This subtle distinction can be very telling.
Okay, so meeting is arranged, going to meet is more like an intention. Got it.
Precisely. We also often leverage mixed forms quite elegantly to highlight the difference between temporary and permanent situations. This adds considerable depth to our descriptions. You might say, "I live in London," that's your permanent residence, but then follow it with, "But I'm staying with friends this week," to clearly signal a temporary arrangement.
Simple, but effective contrast.
Very effective. Now, here's a particularly tricky area. Stative versus dynamic verbs. We all learn that stative verbs like know, love, seem, understand generally do not take continuous forms.
Right, that's a basic rule.
It is. However, there are rare advanced exceptions. These are often used for strong emphasis on a changing state or an ongoing process that is clearly temporary. For example, saying, "You're seeming tired today," is an advanced and deliberate choice. It emphasizes a current temporary appearance rather than the more usual fixed state implied by "you seem tired." It's quite nuanced.
Still use with caution then.
Definitely use with caution. Another common point of confusion, especially for C1 learners, involves verbs of cognition like think. Distinguishing between "I think it's a good idea," which expresses a fixed opinion or belief, and "I'm thinking about the problem," which describes an ongoing mental process or deliberation, is absolutely key to genuine fluency.
Ah, the opinion versus the process.
Exactly. The former is like a statement of fact for the speaker, while the latter describes an activity currently in progress. Mastering these finer distinctions allows you to convey your exact meaning with much greater clarity and avoids potential misinterpretation.
Those specific nuances really do make a big impact on how our message lands. So how can you, the listener, practically apply these insights? Well, in your writing, particularly in narrative or descriptive pieces, using the present continuous can create incredibly vivid and dynamic scenes. Imagine painting a picture with words. As the sun is setting, casting long shadows across the ancient ruins, the characters are whispering secrets in hushed tones. See? Makes your stories far more engaging and immediate for the reader. However, and this is a crucial tip for C1 learners, be extremely cautious with those stative verb errors we talked about.
Very important.
Avoid common mistakes like, "I'm knowing the answer," or "he's having a car," when you mean possession, unless you are very, very deliberately emphasizing a highly specific temporary process, which, as we said, is a rare and advanced usage. Stick to the general rule unless you're absolutely confident in the exception. For speaking, developing the ability to use these forms to describe changes or temporary situations effortlessly will make you sound much more natural and fluent. For instance, casually observing, "Technology is changing our lives rapidly, isn't it?" shows an awareness of ongoing processes and sounds very natural. And in exam settings, especially in sentence transformations or gap fill exercises, always be on the lookout for those temporal clues.
Like time markers.
Exactly. Words and phrases like "at the moment," "currently," or "these days" are strong indicators for the present continuous, while adverbs of frequency like "always," "often," or "usually" typically point towards the present simple. These small context clues are often the key to choosing the correct tense. Okay, let's put this to the test quickly. A quick scenario. Right now, I think I'm thinking about what to cook for dinner. Which one feels right and why? Pause. If you chose "am thinking," you're spot on. It indicates an ongoing mental process, a deliberation that's happening now, rather than stating a fixed opinion. Excellent. That really shows how much power these supposedly basic tenses hold at an advanced level. Now, let's transition to a skill that, maybe more than almost any other, just screams C1 proficiency. It truly distinguishes polished communication from merely functional English, and that is avoiding repetition in a text.
Ah, yes. Crucial.
If you want your writing to truly flow, to be engaging rather than tedious, mastering this art is absolutely essential. It's about so much more than simply not saying the same word twice. It's about crafting a smooth, connected, and intellectually stimulating reading experience for your audience.
You've hit on a fundamental truth of sophisticated writing there. Avoiding repetition is, at its core, all about building cohesion, making sure your text hangs together seamlessly, logically. One of the most accessible tools in your arsenal is the intelligent use of synonyms and paraphrasing instead of just hammering the word big throughout a paragraph.
Which can get boring fast.
Very fast. You might introduce enormous, huge, substantial, or even colossal, depending on the context. This adds richness and variety to your lexical landscape.
Yeah.
But it's not just about simple word swaps. It's also about paraphrasing entire phrases or ideas, restating them in different words to avoid monotony while reinforcing the concept.
So synonyms and rephrasing. What else?
Beyond synonyms, the strategic deployment of pronouns and determiners is vital. Words like it, this, these, such, the former, the latter, they're incredibly powerful. They let you refer back to previously mentioned elements without needing to explicitly restate them. This creates those fluid, almost invisible connections that make a text truly flow naturally. For example, instead of repeating the proposal 3 times, you might refer to this initiative or such an approach in subsequent sentences.
Keeps it fresh.
Exactly. And relative clauses. These are another exceptionally powerful and, I think, elegant way to embed information and avoid clunky noun repetition. Consider combining 2 simple sentences. The book was amazing. I read the book last week. You can merge them into a far more sophisticated and concise structure. The book, which I read last week, was amazing.
Much smoother.
It efficiently combines 2 pieces of information, creating a single, more complex and grammatically impressive sentence. And let's not forget the simple importance of avoiding redundancy altogether. Many common phrases contain unnecessary repeats. A classic example is the one you hear all the time. The reason is because.
Ah, yes, drives me crazy.
Me too. It's redundant because already implies a reason. You can simply say the reason is, or this is because. These small but significant refinements add a great deal of elegance and precision.
That's a fantastic toolkit for cohesion. Now, to make this really actionable for you listening, here are some practical tips. Firstly, actively building a personal synonym bank for common words is incredibly useful. Like if you often use the word important, consciously list alternatives: vital, crucial, significant, pivotal, key. But here's the fascinating thing. While a thesaurus is helpful, you must also check how these synonyms collocate.
That's critical.
Do they naturally sound right together in the context you want to use them? It's about precision and natural usage, not just random word substitution. Some synonyms just don't fit certain contexts.
Right. They might have different connotations or be used into registers.
Exactly. So check collocations. Another tip. When you're editing your essays or reports, make it a non-negotiable habit to scan specifically for noun or key verb repetition within paragraphs. Aim for variety. If you find yourself using the same important noun 3 times in 2 sentences, that's a red flag. Challenge yourself to find an alternative, a pronoun, a synonym, or rephrase the sentence. For the speaking parts of exams, practicing paraphrasing on the spot is a phenomenal way to demonstrate your lexical range and overall fluency. Can you explain a complex idea using different words without losing its core meaning? That shows true mastery. And in the reading and use of English sections, especially those closed tests, a deep and nuanced knowledge of synonyms and collocations is often explicitly tested. It's a crucial vocabulary skill they're looking for. It's not just about knowing a word, it's about knowing its closest companions and its most suitable contexts. Okay, let's try another quick mental rephrasing challenge. Here's a repetitive sentence. The problem is important. The problem needs solving. How would you mentally rephrase that? Make it less repetitive, maybe more concise or elegant. Pause. You could simply combine them. The problem is important and needs solving. Or, taking it a step further, maybe use a synonym and a relative clause. This issue, which is crucial, requires immediate attention. See how that subtle change in vocabulary and structure instantly elevates the language. That's a brilliant demonstration of how varied vocabulary creates a more engaging text. Now, building on that idea of crafting well-structured arguments, let's move to a really critical area for C1 mastery: contrasting ideas.
Yes. Essential for balanced arguments.
Every robust and persuasive argument needs balance, right? A clear presentation of different sides. And at the C1 level, it's simply not enough to just keep saying but or however, we need a whole toolkit of connectors to present contrasting ideas effectively, especially in those persuasive essays where you're weighing pros and cons and trying to showcase a nuanced, critical perspective.
Exactly. While but, however, and although are absolutely foundational and perfectly fine to use sometimes at this advanced level, we really need to pivot to a richer palette of alternatives. These convey more specific relationships between contrasting points. Think of whereas. It's excellent for directly contrasting two facts or statement, often appearing right in the middle of a sentence to show a clear division, like, he loves coffee, whereas she prefers tea. Then there's, on the other hand, a really versatile phrase for introducing an alternative viewpoint or consequence. It's particularly effective when you're discussing pros and cons, setting up the other side of the argument.
Okay, so whereas for direct contrast, on the other hand for alternatives, what else is in the toolkit?
Well, despite and in spite of are absolutely vital, but it's critical, really critical, to remember their grammatical difference from although. They must be followed by a noun, a pronoun, or a gerund. Never a full clause on its own.
Ah, that's a common mistake, isn't it?
It is. You'd say, despite the rain, we enjoyed the picnic. If you want to use a full clause, you need to add the fact that, despite the fact that it rained.
Oh.
Then there's nevertheless, which essentially means despite what has just been said or acknowledged, nonetheless carries a very similar meaning. Both add a formal touch. In contrast to is another clear and quite formal way to highlight differences.
And does it matter where we put these words? Oh, definitely. What's also profoundly important for C1 learners is the strategic positioning of these linkers. Placing them right at the beginning of a sentence, often followed by a comma, can add a strong emphasis to the contrast you're making. It signals it clearly. Integrating them mid-sentence, conversely, can contribute to a smoother, more flowing argument, weaving the contrast more seamlessly into the text. And don't forget adversative clauses like while X is true, Y counters it. This structure explicitly and elegantly sets up a counter-argument or concession. It's exceptionally effective in academic discourse for showing balance.
Could you give us some more fleshed out examples? Sure, let's take one. Social media connects people worldwide and fosters communities. Nevertheless, it can paradoxically lead to feelings of isolation and inadequacy for some users. Here, nevertheless, smoothly bridges those two seemingly contradictory outcomes. Or, how about, urban areas typically offer a wider array of job opportunities and cultural experiences, whereas rural regions often provide a greater sense of community and unparalleled natural beauty. This clearly and directly contrasts two distinct sets of benefits using whereas. And for the despite usage, despite the persistent challenges posed by global economic shifts, the company managed to achieve record profits this quarter. Using the noun phrase after despite, these examples illustrate how these connectors allow for a much richer, more sophisticated expression of complex, multifaceted ideas.
Those examples really do flesh out their power. So how can you, listening now, wield this toolkit effectively? One of the biggest, most impactful tips here is vary your linkers.
Yes, show your range.
Exactly. You genuinely want to showcase your lexical range. Don't fall into the trap of repeatedly using however or although throughout your essay. It just sounds repetitive and less sophisticated. Mix in yet, still, conversely, by contrast, or on the contrary, to keep your writing dynamic, engaging, and less predictable. This variety itself signals a higher level of proficiency.
Absolutely. It shows you have more tools at your disposal.
And moreover, demonstrating these sophisticated contrasts is key to showcasing critical thinking in your essays. Instead of just a simplistic pro or con list using phrases like, technology undoubtedly aids learning in numerous ways, whereas its uncritical overuse can paradoxically hinder deep cognitive engagement, allows you to present that balanced, nuanced perspective. You're not just listing facts, you're actively analyzing and contrasting them.
Shows a deeper level of thought.
Right. For speaking exams, especially in longer monologues or discussions, actively incorporating these connectors ensures logical coherence in your arguments. It clearly demonstrates your command of advanced structural language. And as a practical exam strategy, particularly for writing task 2, really aim to integrate at least 3 to 4 varied contrasting linkers. This not only effectively structures your opinion essays, but also significantly elevates your grammar and vocabulary score by showcasing that range and precision we talked about. Okay, let's try this one for practice. Consider the sentence. The film was expensive to make, it didn't perform well at the box office. What's a suitable advanced linker you could pop in there to connect these contrasting ideas? Pause. Many excellent options exist, right? You could use nevertheless, yet nonetheless, maybe, however. Each adds a slightly different shade of meaning, but all serve to highlight that contrast effectively. That's a great demonstration of how to build sophisticated arguments. Now, let's explore a technique that, once you master it, makes your English sound incredibly natural, really concise, and authentically native, especially when you're speaking. Let's talk about ellipsis.
The art of leaving things out.
Exactly. Have you ever noticed how native speakers sometimes just drop words or even entire phrases, but you still understand their meaning perfectly? That's ellipsis in action. It's all about efficient communication without sacrificing clarity.
Precisely. Ellipsis is the art, or maybe the technique, of omitting words when their meaning is entirely clear from the surrounding context. It makes communication much more efficient, less wordy. And that's why it's so, ubiquitous in natural, spontaneous speech. You'll observe this in very common conversational scenarios, particularly in responses. If someone asks, "What are you doing this evening?" a perfectly natural and concise reply is simply, "Watching TV."
Instead of, "I am watching TV."
Right. The "I am" is implicitly understood and therefore omitted. It's also frequently employed in comparisons, streamlining the sentence structure. For example, "She runs faster than I rundo." The verb is omitted because the context already provides it, makes the sentence less repetitive.
Okay, makes sense. Where else?
In coordinate clauses where sentences or phrases are joined, usually with and, but, or, ellipsis helps to streamline these compound structures. You might hear someone say, "He likes tea," and "he likes coffee." The repeated verb phrase, "he likes," is neatly omitted, creating a more fluid and economical sentence. And while it's less common in formal contexts, in very informal situations, or sometimes for rhetorical effect, even parts of imperatives or questions can be clipped. Think of Hamlet's iconic line, "To be or to be not to be," where the repetition of "to be" is implied for dramatic effect.
Okay, so it's quite widespread.
Very. Let's consider a few more common everyday examples just to illustrate. If someone asks, "Have you finished the report?" a natural reply is, "Yes, I have." Simple. Or in a comparison, "I can swim as well as he can swim," or maybe "as well as he can." In informal text messages, which are often highly condensed, you might see something like, "Want to go to the cinema?" "Sure, I want to go." In all these cases, the omitted words are so transparently clear from the context that including them would actually sound a bit superfluous, maybe even unnatural.
These examples really highlight how much cleaner and, more authentic our language can become. The true beauty of mastering ellipsis is how it helps you sound so much more natural and fluent in dialogues. I'd highly recommend actively trying to integrate ellipsis into speaking part 1 of your exams. It's an excellent way to emulate a native speaker's rhythm and conciseness. It demonstrates a real command of spoken English. But this raises an important question. How do you actually practice this? How do you get better at it?
Good question. It takes conscious effort.
My advice would be to try engaging in casual conversations with a language partner, or even just listen carefully to native speakers. Actively listen for where words are naturally omitted without losing any meaning. Pay attention to how native speakers use it in everyday interactions, films, podcasts, real life. However, and this is a crucial warning for C1 learners, right? Do not over-omit.
Yes, absolutely critical. Clarity first.
In complex sentences or formal writing, removing too many words can easily lead to ambiguity, confusion, or even an ungrammatical structure, and that completely defeats the purpose of clear communication. The goal is always clear and efficient communication, not just brevity for brevity's sake. In written English, ellipsis is generally best suited for informal contexts like notes, emails to friends, or perhaps dialogue and creative writing. In formal academic writing, complete sentences are almost always expected, so exercise caution there.
Good point. Know your audience and context.
And for listening comprehension tasks, recognizing ellipsis in spoken scripts or dialogues is absolutely vital for accurate understanding, precisely because it's so common in natural speech. If you don't realize words are missing, you might misunderstand. Okay, let's try a very straightforward example just to see if you can spot the omitted word easily. If I say, "He plays tennis better than I," what's the word that would naturally be omitted there? Pause. If you said "do," you're absolutely right. It's simple, but it effectively illustrates the principle, better than I do. That's a subtle but powerful way to make your language sound more native. Now, if you truly want to add real punch, genuine impact, maybe a touch of dramatic flair to your English, these next structures, they're your absolute secret weapons.
The emphatic structure.
Yes, we're talking about cleft sentences, inversion, and emphatic auxiliaries. These aren't just fancy grammar structures you learn for the sake of it. They are tools specifically designed to make your most important points resonate, creating a dynamic and memorable effect on your audience.
Precisely. These structures allow you to strategically, deliberately draw attention to specific pieces of information within a sentence. Let's start with the cleft sentences. The term cleft literally means split, right? And that's exactly what these sentences do. They cleave or split a single idea into two clauses to bring one specific element into sharp focus. The most common structure is, it is pause plus focus plus that hook which. So if your original sentence is pretty plain, like the book inspired me, and you really want to emphasize the book.
It gets stand out.
Exactly. You transform it into, it was the book that inspired me. Now, the book is unequivocally highlighted. Another powerful cleft form starts with what, such as, what I need most right now is time. Here, time is the emphasized element. These are excellent for directing your listener's attention exactly where you want it.
Okay, so it and what, clefts. What about inversion?
Then we have inversion with auxiliaries. This technique involves flipping the typical subject-verb order, and as we'll discuss more later, it's often triggered after certain negative adverbs or adverbials placed at the beginning of a sentence. This creates a sense of drama or formality or just strong emphasis. Instead of the straightforward, I have never seen such beauty, you can dramatically rephrase it as, never have I seen such beauty.
It definitely sounds more dramatic.
It immediately grabs the listener's attention, signaling that something significant or unusual is being said. It's a powerful rhetorical device.
And the emphatic auxiliary do, how does that work?
The auxiliary do for emphasis. This is a wonderfully direct way to add strong emphasis to an affirmative statement, or maybe to emphatically counter a previous statement or someone's doubt. You basically insert do, does, or did into sentences that don't normally require an auxiliary for affirmation. For example, if someone doubts your feelings, you might passionately declare, but I do love it.
Like adding stress.
Exactly. Or, if you want to strongly agree with someone, you are absolutely right, and I do agree with your assessment. It just reinforces your statement with real conviction. And these powerful structures can even be subtly combined sometimes, maybe in formal writing or speeches, for maximum rhetorical effect. Something like, what truly matters in this endeavor is effort, which I sincerely do believe we have all demonstrated. You're using a cleft and emphatic do.
Those techniques really do add a unique texture to communication, don't they? So pulling this together, what does this all mean for you, the listener, in terms of practical application?
Well, my key takeaway here is that these are incredibly powerful tools, but like any powerful tool,
Use them wisely. Precisely. They shouldn't be used for just everyday, casual chat all the time. They lose their impact then. They are reserved for emphasis, for those strategic moments when you truly want to make a point, add a dramatic flourish, or draw specific attention to something. For instance, in academic essays, you can brilliantly use cleft sentences to highlight crucial arguments or findings. Instead of burying your main point deep in a paragraph, bring it right to the forefront. It is environmental issues that concern me most about the government's new policy, not necessarily economic growth. See? It clearly signals your primary focus and its significance.
makes your argument clear.
Definitely. For speaking tasks, especially presentations or debates, practicing inversion for dramatic effect and consciously focusing on your intonation to make it sound natural and impactful can elevate your delivery tremendously. It adds gravitas, memorability. And as an exam strategy, be prepared for transformations that require these stylistic shifts. Often, a C1 use of English tasks will present a sentence and ask you to rephrase it, implicitly or explicitly guiding you towards incorporating one of these emphatic structures. Recognizing when and how to apply them is a clear marker of advanced control. Okay, let's try a quick transformation. Take the sentence. I didn't expect the surprise. How would you use a cleft sentence to emphasize the surprise? Give it a try. Pause. You could say, it was the surprise that I didn't expect. Or an alternative using what? What I didn't expect was the surprise. Both effectively highlight that element of surprise. Excellent. These tools give your language significant rhetorical power. Now let's zoom in on a particular type of inversion that is, without a doubt, a true marker of C1 mastery. It genuinely elevates your English from merely good to undeniably sophisticated.
Inversion after negative adverbial.
Exactly. This structure is frequently encountered in formal writing, literature, eloquent speeches, and it invariably makes a profound statement. It's about adding that extra layer of elegance and impact.
You're absolutely right. This specific type of inversion is a real hallmark of advanced command. It's a subset of what we just discussed, but it's triggered by placing very specific negative adverbs or adverbial phrases right at the very beginning of a sentence. We're talking about phrases that carry a strong negative or restrictive meaning. Things like not only, rarely, seldom, never, little, phrases like on no account, under no circumstances, and pairs like no sooner than or hardly when.
So specific triggers.
Yes, very specific triggers. When these elements lead a sentence, the typical subject-verb order is reversed, and the auxiliary verb comes before the subject. The structure is quite clear and consistent. You start with the negative adverbial, plus then the auxiliary verb, plus then the subject, plus then the main verb.
Okay, can we break that down with examples?
Absolutely. Let's take some simple sentences and transform them. Instead of the basic, I rarely go out these days, for a more formal or dramatic effect, you'd transform it to, rarely do I go out these days. The inversion makes this statement more emphatic, highlights the rarity. Another very common one is with no sooner than. So instead of she had no sooner left than it started to rain, it becomes the much more sophisticated no sooner had she left than it started to rain.
Yeah.
This structure really emphasizes the immediate sequence of events.
It sounds quite literary, that one.
It does, yes. Or consider, not only is it incredibly expensive, but it's also proving to be quite unreliable. Here, the not only at the beginning triggers the inversion is it instead of it is, followed by the but also clause. This builds a powerful two-part argument very effectively. And one more. Seldom do we see such dedicated commitment from volunteers in our community. Again, this emphasizes the rarity, makes it sound more formal. If we connect this to the bigger picture, mastering this specific type of inversion is how you truly elevate your written expression. It imparts a layer of formal flair, gravitas, and rhetorical power. You see it much more in sophisticated literature, academic essays, formal reports, than in casual chat. It creates a deliberate, dramatic, or emphatic effect.
These structures certainly do convey a sense of, gravitas and sophistication. For you, as a C1 learner, this structure is particularly fantastic for crafting powerful and memorable essay conclusions or maybe even opening statements. It leaves a strong, lasting impression on your reader. For example, rather than just a simple summary sentence, you could conclude an argument with something like, not only does this proposed solution address the immediate challenge, but it also proactively prevents future problems from arising. It's just a very impactful and authoritative way to synthesize your points.
Gives it a strong finish.
Exactly. I also strongly encourage you to read these inverted sentences aloud. Practice them with different intonation patterns. You'll begin to grasp their inherent rhythm, their almost poetic quality sometimes. And this can significantly enhance your delivery and speaking tasks, making you sound genuinely eloquent. But here's a crucial pitfall, a really common mistake many C1 learners make here. You only invert the auxiliary verb with the subject. You absolutely cannot invert the full main verb.
That's the key structural point.
Right. So while rarely do I go is correct because do is the auxiliary, saying rarely I go is just wrong. Likewise, never have I seen is perfect, but never I saw is incorrect. It's a subtle but absolutely vital distinction that separates truly advanced grammar from common errors. Pay close attention to that auxiliary. In exams, particularly in reading comprehension tasks, spotting these inversions can often indicate a text's advanced stylistic level. It can genuinely help you in understanding nuanced meanings and the author's intended emphasis. They often signal important information is coming. Okay, let's put this specific rule to a final quick test. Take the sentence. You will seldom find such honesty in today's political discourse. How would you transform that using inversion after the negative adverbial seldom? Think about the structure. Pause. A correct inverted form would be, seldom will you find such honesty in today's political discourse. That sounds much more impactful, doesn't it? More formal. Whew. Okay, that truly was quite the grammar workout, wasn't it?
It was intensive, but hopefully very useful.
Absolutely. We've taken a really comprehensive deep dive into 7 crucial C1 grammar topics today, from the strategic nuances of advanced passives, the subtle layers hidden in present tenses, through the elegance of avoiding repetition, the power of contrasting ideas, the natural conciseness you get with ellipsis, and right up to those truly emphatic and sophisticated inversions. Our overarching goal throughout this whole deep dive was really to provide you with a powerful toolkit, tools to express your ideas with more precision, with more flair, and ultimately with significantly more confidence. Remember, these aren't just abstract rules to memorize from a book. They are dynamic pathways to mastering more sophisticated, more natural, and ultimately more impactful English.
Indeed. And what's truly insightful here, I think, is that mastering these advanced structures isn't really a fixed destination you arrive at. It is, in fact, a continuous and incredibly rewarding journey. Knowledge is always most valuable when it's deeply understood, actively practiced, and consistently applied in real communication. The key, as always, is persistent engagement. Immerse yourself in advanced texts, listen intently to nuanced English being used naturally, and perhaps most importantly, actively challenge yourself to integrate these sophisticated structures into your own daily speaking and writing. That consistent effort is what will embed them into your active vocabulary, making them feel natural for you to use. And this perhaps raises an important, maybe even a provocative question for you to consider as you continue your learning. How might truly mastering these subtle grammatical shifts not only significantly improve your exam scores, but perhaps fundamentally change the way you perceive, articulate, and therefore interact with the complex world around you? Something to think about.
That's a powerful thought to leave with, isn't it? The connection between language and perception. We truly hope this deep dive has given you plenty to think about, an abundance of new insights, and even more to actively practice in your English learning journey. If you found this deep dive useful, please do like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We absolutely love knowing these deep dives are hitting the mark for you and helping you on your path to C1 mastery and beyond.